Herb. Herb is a plant. I mean, herbs are good for everything. Herb.
Welcome to Eugene Cannabis TV. You got Dank, your host, and we got some stuff on Oregon to talk about, the cannabis issues, and we've got some events coming up to tell you about. First of all, Mercy TV. You've seen PK here in the last few months, and our friends from Salem and Mercy TV. And anyway, on Fridays you can call their show, and it's 7 o'clock. And I finally remembered to do it myself. I put it on my Google calendar and set the alarm, and I made it. Plus PK called to remind me too. But anyway, we had a good time, and it was fun talking to those guys again. And they were up in Salem doing their show. So that way we can communicate with our friends in Salem that we haven't even met yet. So anyway, I just want to remind everybody to do that. This coming Friday, do what I did. Put it in your calendar, set the alarm, set it in front of the alarm, and take down the phone number, and we'll post that on the screen here so that you can call our friends in Salem. And I also want to talk about LV Musica. LV Musica's tin. Still have that with me. This is the tin that she gets her. It says marijuana cigarettes, high potency. That's the government's way of saying what it is. She gets 300 pre-rolled marijuana cigarettes every month, and they come into tin, and this is one of the tins. And she asked for donations on these, so it helps her fund her travels and her work in cannabis legalization for both medical and recreational. So anyway, if anybody's interested in having a real collector item, this is it. She's got as high as $3,000 for an empty tin before. But if she could get $1,000 for this one, she'd be tickled pink, and it would be a big help and a big contribution to the movement, because LV is an icon. And anyway, so I still have the tin, and I want to talk about. This is probably one of the bigger things I want to talk about tonight is it's time to fight. We got to get up to Salem on February 3rd. The legislature. That's the first day of the first day of the legislature, and we're going to meet at high noon in Salem. We'll have a rally outside, and we encourage people to come, bring signs and their friends, and make appointments with their congressperson. To meet with them that day where you're there, because we have got to show our strength. The medical program is in trouble. I'm telling you, it is in deep trouble, and there's a good chance that it could. Anyway, we've got to support it. And so the Oregon legislature has never been real, as I said, have never been real friendly with the cannabis community, and they definitely have not been a big help to the patients over the years, and it's only gotten worse. So the medical, anyway, so we could lose the program. So please, I'll be talking more about this coming up. Now that's going to be on February 6th, so this is the last time I guess I'll be able to talk about that on the show. But I got something else coming up I want to talk about too coming up. And cannabis is legal in Maine now, and so that makes, now I forgot the number, 8 states with legalization. So that's great. They're coming, I like to say the cat's out of the bag, and it's not going back, in spite of our current president, especially his attorney general choice. If that happens, God help everybody. But anyway, another thing too, write your congressman, your national congress people, and tell them we don't want Jeff Sessions, and please do whatever they can to not let Jeff Sessions in as Attorney General. He's the Alabama Attorney General that said that good people don't smoke marijuana. And the other thing was, he at one point years ago supposedly, I guess he said, I don't really have a problem with the KKK until I found out that they used marijuana. So, and to give you an idea of what we're looking at. And the legislature, as I say, is going into session, and there are 39 bills so far, and there's probably more coming yet that are cannabis related. Most of them bad. There's a few good. I read about this HB 2198, which is CompassionOregon.com's bill, which establishes a medical use of cannabis board. And the board will administer the OMMP and take it away from the OHA, which would be a good thing. The OHA, is, like I said, has really done a really lousy job. It also increases the possession limit for patients to 6 pounds per plant and removes reporting from 12 plants unless, regardless of where it is being grown. It moves bigger medical marijuana growers to Department of Agriculture and register them just like a hemp grower. So it's a good bill there, and so we can. That's one we can get behind, and that's again our friends, the Compassion. Check out their website too, CompassionOregon.com. So check that out and support those people because they are definitely supporting the patients of Oregon. And another bill, this was in the Bend Bulletin, written by Joseph Ditzler, January 20th, 2017, titled Drug Testing Bill filed in Salem, subtitled Federal Law Still a Hurdle. A bill meant to prevent employers from using off-the-clock marijuana use as a cause to fire or refuse to hire someone is on the growing list of proposed legislation awaiting lawmakers in Salem. Backers of Senate Bill 301 say it would override state Supreme Court decisions that say employers need not accommodate workers off-of-job use of marijuana, legal for all adults since July 2015. Others give slim odds of SB 301 passing when the legislature convenes. The bill, introduced this week, barely fills one page. It is basically a copy of older legislation meant to protect tobacco users from being fired or denied employment on account of their habit. The beauty of this particular statute is that it really builds on a little-used statute brought about by the tobacco industry, said Beth Crichton, an attorney with Rose & Crichton, a Portland firm. Crichton specializes in representing employees. It's definitely an individual rights issue, she said. The voters in the state of Oregon have decided that marijuana is legal, so you shouldn't be fired for something that's illegal. The bill would prohibit employers from requiring employees or prospective employees to, quote, return from using a substance that is lawful to use under the laws of this state during non-working hours, unquote. The proposed bill leaves room for employers to continue drug testing employees or applicants as part of a bona fide occupational qualification or to prevent on-the-job impairment. In employment terms, Oregon is an at-will state, meaning employers may let workers go for nearly any reason or no reason at all. Crichton said, putting exemption into law affords some worker protections, such as those for whistleblowers, she said. Beth contacted me a few months ago and said it was an unlawful employment practice for employers to either refuse to hire someone or fire them for tobacco smoking. What would you think about extending that for substances that are legal for adults to consume, said Lelandberger, a Portland attorney who counsels marijuana businesses. I told her I thought it was a brilliant idea. Crichton proposed the bill to the legislature's Joint Interim Committee on Marijuana Legalization, co-chaired by Senator Ginny Burdick and State Representative Ann Lindiger of Democrat out of Lake Oswego, which introduced it. Other employment lawyers said the bill has little chance of passing. It's too simply crafted to achieve its goal, and besides, a federal law that still regards marijuana as an illicit drug trumps state law that legalizes it, they said. My experience so far is that people are giving that bill much energy, are not giving that bill much energy, said attorney Amanda Gablin of Schwab, Williamson and Wyatt in Portland. The most recent significant impact on employees' drug testing, she said, comes from an August 2016 rule by the Federal Occupational Health and Safety Administration. The rule aims to improve the collection of data on workplace injuries and accidents. It does not directly address drug testing. In comments accompanying the rule, the agency explains that a blanket post-injury drug testing policy may silence workers who would otherwise report a workplace injury or accident, particularly if the test method indicates drug use but not impairment. Critics of marijuana drug testing say tests show only past use, not impairment. Proponents of drug testing say a workplace accident in itself may suggest some level of impairment, Gavlin said. Gavlin said that behind the OHSA rule may be an attempt to accommodate states in which marijuana is legal by one extent or another. Recreational marijuana is legal in the District of Columbia and 7 other states other than Oregon. Medical marijuana is approved in 28 states. I don't think OSHA would admit it, but the timing is interesting, Gavlin said. Attorney Paula Barron, an employment and labor law specialist, called the OSHA rule a, quote, red flag, unquote. That was a little bit of a surprise, she said. The drug testing statement wasn't even in the regulation. It was in a preamble to the regulation. Further complicating the picture, Barron said, an employer can use impairment to defend against a workers' compensation claim. Plus, an Oregon Supreme Court decision in April 2010, Emerald Steel Fabricators Incorporated versus the Bureau of Land and Industries, held that employers need not accommodate employees' use of a drug deemed illegal by the federal government. With that in mind, SB 301 is a pointless exercise, government said. Barron agreed. Federal law occupies the field, she said. It would take an awful lot for a state government to overcome that, Barron said, if at all. So you see right there that Bill 301 it's a long shot, but at least it's out there. And a lot of times these long shot bills, they don't make it the first time, but they make it through the second time. And unfortunately, our Oregon legislature now meets every year. I mean, it used to be every other year, and so at least we had, a year vacation before they could screw up everything. But now, because of the wisdom of our voters, now they can vote every year, and so we have to face the ne'er-do-wells every year. So anyway, and this is a quick note about this is from Newsweek. This was dated 12/17, December 17th last year. Regulations drive marijuana sales back into the streets. I won't have time to cover that one this program, but I just want to bring that up, and it reminds me of Colorado. I like to tell the story of Colorado. They overtaxed it. It's taxed at 3 different levels. It's so expensive that it costs more in the store than it does on the street. So the black market's flourishing. But the funny part is, so is state sales. They're both flourishing. So that was quite a surprise to me, because we always talked about how legalization would kill the black market, but so far legalization hasn't. But again, it's mainly because of the high taxes. So, it's all about economics, supply and demand. It's all basic economics, and so that's what we end up with, So anyway, stick around for the second half. We're going to talk about the Oregon legislature and what might be coming. So be right back. I hope you'll be back.
If you're an adult who enjoys a good beer, there's a similar product you might want to know about. One without all the calories and serious health problems. Less toxic so it doesn't cause hangovers or overdose deaths, and it's not linked to violence or reckless behavior. Marijuana. Less harmful than alcohol, and time to treat it that way. For more information, visit marijuanaissafer.org.
Welcome back to the second half of Eugene Cannabis TV, episode 635. And excuse me, I have an important announcement here that I forgot to mention earlier, and this is really important. The Emerald Empire Hempfest is having their first organizational meeting. That's February 12th at high noon. and of course I don't have the address with me, but I'll be talking about it in future shows. But you can always go to our, send an email to dankbagmail@hotmail.com, and I'll definitely get that information to you. And this is a big thing because we need to get back into the park. We need to do our event. We can't let the city violate our constitutional rights, and so we have as much right to use that park as anybody else. Plus the fact with the no smoking ban of anything in the parks now, it'll be less of an issue about smoking pot because it'll be a lot easier to enforce that regulation. So it's kind of a double-edged sword on that. But at any rate, the Emerald Empire Hempfest organizational meeting, very, very important, and we need a lot of support, we need a lot of help, especially core members. You need people that are like foremen, you know, people that can lead people and really want to get involved, because this is a labor of love and it's a lot of fun. So anyway, it's all about that. I'll be talking about that more in the future too. So this was, I just went through closing down the Compassion Center, helping move out to the building and such, and it looks like there's got to be a merger between them and a medical marijuana clinic, which is, I thought was an interesting idea, and so I'm really excited about it. And I'll be talking about it more in the future as it becomes closer to happening and more details as I learn them. But I came across this article, and I guess this is out of Venice, California, down in LA, which is one of my favorite places. But this is VeniceCare.com is a website written by Pat DeLuca, and this is dated January 7, 2017. Observations from my first week in a medical marijuana practice. When we officially opened our doors on January 3rd, we weren't sure exactly what to expect. With a 15-year broadcasting, marketing, and management career, I knew the mechanics of administration. But one thing I learned very quickly that I had yet to experience within my working life was a constant variable within healthcare, the patients. Dr. Gordon, our office administrator Patricia, and myself have seen 56 patients in just 5 days. Our scope of patients is amazing. From age 18 all the way to 85, we've had the privilege of meeting some truly incredible individuals, veterans, police officers, educators, medical professionals, business owners, retirees, students, and everything in between. Their stories are often heartbreaking, something I'll freely admit I wasn't ready for. One elderly gentleman suffering terribly from Parkinson's disease struck such a chord with me that I had to walk out of the office to compose myself. Watching his difficulties, signing his intake paperwork, and witnessing his beautiful wife of many decades patiently steady his hand enough to mark his initials was something deeply emotional. As I paced the parking lot, my mood shifted from sadness to anger. How could the government say marijuana has no medicinal value? How could anyone tell a patient living in misery they couldn't attempt a better option with less side effects? Why do some doctors prescribe patients a duffel bag of pills a month but lecture them for wanting to try cannabis as an alternative? Why does there still seem to exist a tired, irrational, uneducated fear of a plant grown naturally and used medicinally for millennia? While their individual illnesses and general stories vary, each patient we've seen has an undeniable renewed sense of hope in their voice because of the 6 million Florida voters that said yes to Amendment 2. The most repeated statement in our office this week was, "I just want to get off of all these pills." The most frequently asked question, to which currently have no answer, how long will it be before I can get my medicine? After a particularly long first day, Dr. Gordon looked at me and said, "I wish everyone who opposed Amendment 2 and all of the politicians in Tallahassee would just sit on the bench outside of our front door and see who's coming in and out of the clinic." I couldn't agree with him more. I'll take a step further and invite them to talk to our patients directly. At this point in our society, the only individuals who are against medical marijuana have no empathy for someone with a chronic and debilitating illness. Additionally, they're completely ignorant to both the benefits of cannabis and the proven science behind those benefits. With all the attention we received in the past 2 weeks in the news media, there has been very little backlash, save for a few keyboard cowboys on social media who make their ignorance obvious. Personally, what is making me upset are the local municipalities who keep passing moratoriums on dispensaries. Currently, the cities of Bradenton, Saratoga, Venice, Longboat Key, and Bonita Springs have temporary bans for anything dealing with medical marijuana. As a whole, Charlotte County Commissioners enacted a 9-month moratorium. Estero acted their own moratorium in December. Last Monday, Dr. Gordon appeared on WGCM-FM alongside Councilwoman Katie Arrington. When pressed on the city's decision to pause medical marijuana in their community, Ms. Arrington expressed concern about the federal illegality, possible unscrupulous operations, and the quickness of the state's expansion of existing laws. What Mrs. Arrington fails to understand is that marijuana prohibition and the current federal policy is purposeful deception. She also fails to understand that Florida has enacted a medical marijuana program, not a recreational. I believe her ignorance is an insult to any of her constituents suffering from cancer, ALS, MS, PTSD, HIV/AIDS, Parkinson's, epilepsy, or other debilitating chronic illnesses. I would love to know if, after speaking to one of our patients, Ms. Arrington would have the heart to repeat the fearful marijuana mantra back to them. While so many patients are attempting to silence the 71.3% supermajority out of fear, one city, which I'm proud to call my home, is one of the few on the Gulf Coast that has passed legislation allowing dispensaries. In November, Northport's commission moved to allow 2 dispensaries within the city limits. Ironically, nearly 60% of our patients we've seen this past week live within this city in southern Saratoga County. As other cities would be chided for the limitations, they've placed on the qualified patient's future access to the medicine. Northport should be applauded. The men and women within the administration understand the compassionate spirit behind this statewide legislation and displayed genuine empathy for those patients in such desperate need. Northport should be seen as a model for what other government bodies should be doing. On the federal side, on the federal, state, and local levels, we as a society have a moral obligation to help the sick obtain a better standard of life. For those patients approaching the end of their lives, we as a whole have an obligation to deny them nothing that helps them enjoy whatever time they have left. No matter what side of the debate you are on, you owe it to yourself and chronically ill patients everywhere to educate yourself. There is an incredible body medical science that proves the benefits of cannabis and its derivatives. Most importantly, when someone says, just say no, ask them if their response would be the same if it came from their wife, husband, father, mother, sister, brother, or child. The battle might be won, but the war isn't over. Let your voices be heard at all levels of government. Correct those with incorrect information. Don't stand by passively and be a spectator. Become involved and demand a higher standard of patient care. So that's a good point, and I started out saying I saw Venice, and I was thinking Venice, California. Actually, it's Venice, Florida, so I'm sorry that was Florida and not California. But anyway, definitely good points there, and for those of us that have experience in medical marijuana and what it can do for patients, I'm sure could really pick up on some of the things that this lady mentioned. and unfortunately, it seems that people in government, generally speaking, especially in our government, they don't like marijuana. They don't like marijuana issue. They don't like marijuana patients particularly, but they don't mind taxing it. They don't mind taking the taxes, you know. So it's kind of maddening. But anyway, that's what we're faced. Another quick story here. This was in the Philly.com website, written by Jan Heffler, and it was dated January 6th, 2017. An insurance company must pay for medical marijuana for an injured New Jersey worker. In what could be a precedent-setting decision, a New Jersey administrative law judge has ordered an insurance company to pay for medical marijuana for an injured worker who suffers from lingering neuropathic pain in his left hand after an accident while using a parasaw at an 84 lumber outlet in 2008. Judge Ingrid L. French took testimony from the worker, a 39-year-old Egg Harbor Townsend man, and a Cherry Hill psychiatrist/neurologist who said the marijuana treatment was appropriate because it would allow the patient to reduce his prescription opiate use and lower the risk of dangerous side effects. Andrew Watson was seeking reimbursement for marijuana he had purchased at a dispensary in his Atlantic County township over 3 months in 2014 after enrolling in the state's program. He also sought a ruling that would allow him to be covered for the treatment in the future. French issued their opinion last month, saying the evidence presented in these proceedings show that the petitioner's trial use of medical marijuana has been successful. While the court is sensitive to the controversy surrounding the medical use of marijuana, whether or not it should be prescribed for a patient in any state where it is legal to prescribe, it is a medical decision that is within the boundaries of the laws of the state. So anyway, that was really interesting, and I've heard of people having their medical marijuana stolen, and insurance companies actually paying the damages and paying for it. So things are starting to turn around. I always look at the whole thing, the whole issue, like a great big ship. You know, you can't make turns real quick, but we're going that way. You know, so. Anyway, stay tuned, come back next week, and we'll have more information for you, and I hope to see you in Salem February 6th. So very, very important, so please be there. Dank will be. We'll see you later. Thanks.